So two questions to that. First question is, how do you try to be as specific as possible? How do you test for that? You talk to somebody, you want to find out, does this person have growth mindset or not? Do you have specific questions you ask, or how do you try to figure out if this is a person that has that?
Yeah, it's a challenge because when you're early in your career, let's say you just graduated college, um,
Yeah,
I think the question might be different because they don't have any experience yet, or they may not have had an opportunity to leverage a growth mindset yet. But it's almost like thinking through, what is something interesting or new that you just learned. You might ask them that question. I had that question come to me in an interview once, and at the time, because I was curious, I was working at a bike shop. I was a recruiter, but I worked literally at a road bike shop because I had a road bike and I wanted to learn how to wrench on it and like set up my own bike. And so that was what I shared, was like, yo, I got a job at a bike shop for 10 bucks an hour while I'm also a recruiter because I just want to learn about this thing. And so that was a good example of, she must be really into learning if she's like working at a bike shop to learn this thing.
yes,
I think for my earlier career hires, my juniors, I look, for how like willing and open and like hungry they are. Are you hungry to learn?
yeah,
Are you also coachable? And are you curious?
yes,
That's
yes,
the other thing. Like, are you curious or are you defensive? Because if you're defensive and you shut down when you're given feedback, well, like that's not going to work. And if you're open minded and you're curious and you just want to know and you ask questions, that is in alignment for what we look for. I think you can pressure test that by their own ability to get prepped for the interview and the questions that they're asking you in the interview. If they show up no prep and no
yeah.
questions, well, I don't know.
No, I agree. I actually, it's a lot of the same things that I've had experiences with that I think, and I'm asking because I find that what you call the growth mindset for me is very much, are you willing to kind of get uncomfortable to learn type of it? That's kind of, I
Yeah.
feel that in many cases at the core of it, like, are you willing to, if it's physical, are you willing to kind of run until your leg hurts? And if it's emotional, are you willing to like, lean into that difficult and not really nice conversation to kind of get out of that? But how you find that out and see it in people, I think is difficult. I think the feedback thing is incredibly important. I do sales at 24 slides. So it's for me, it's salespeople. But one of the things we do that I think has been very effective is a part of our hiring process is running um, role plays back to back. So it's a role play that's designed to make the candidate fail, meaning they
Mm-hmm.
cannot ace it no matter how good they are because they're playing 24 slides and they don't have
Mm-hmm.
context. And then deliberately they get feedback, and then it's exactly the same role play afterwards. And what I found so far is people who are really, there's both a lot of learning and just how do they receive feedback, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you have somebody who think they're really good and you give them that feedback, then you can see. I would say we
Mm-hmm.
dodged some bullets, right, on somebody who looked really impressive, and then you gave them feedback, and you could just see, okay, that will not work, right? But then actually how they apply it afterwards, I think, is really a fascinating that, and then the curiosity thing, I
Mm-hmm.
also think is important, but I think it's so hard to dig out. Try to ask about how people learn or why they learn. That you worked in a bike shop for me would also be a huge plus, but it's more like it's very rare. Somebody says,
Yeah. No, it
I'm
is.
working at a bike shop next to my work to learn, right? That's,
It is very
yeah,
rare. I think that's what I've learned even about myself, and that's been a big lesson because I think I used to be very, very hard on my team, and I was a perfectionist, and I would expect them to be just like me. But it wasn't a good
yes,
thing. It was like I set the bar unrealistically high, not factoring in my own uniqueness and realizing like I'm quite different and I'm quite unique and I'm quite special. and not there's not a lot of that out there, and that's okay. So I also had to like unhook myself from that and be open to seeing everybody's own unique special magic that they bring to the table that is different than mine. And that's the beauty of diversity on the team, diversity of background and skills and experience and thought, and all of that is what, you know, creates that culture of innovation as well. I don't want a million more me's. I want a lot of different people than me that have a
Yes.
common thread, but that's it.